Alright, what is happening? How's everybody doing today? My name is Chuck, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I wanted to go in depth with you guys because you guys loved my Warzone Oden class setup, and I wanted to actually take a bit of a page out of that book and bring in my Oden that I did from Warzone over into multiplayer and kind of adjust that class setup to give you guys the best possible class to use within regular Modern Warfare multiplayer. Because believe it or not, the Oden's not only just good within Warzone, it's incredibly good within regular multiplayer, and you guys definitely need to actually stick through to the end of the video to see exactly how I'm actually setting this gun up and how you guys can drop insane gameplays with it. Before we get any further into the video, if you guys need some Call of Duty points on your account, make sure you guys drop a like on this video, subscribe with those notifications turned on, and definitely comment down in the comment section below what other guns you guys like to see me make videos on. With that being said, let's show you guys everything on my Oden class setup and how you guys can dominate Modern Warfare multiplayer matches just like how I am here in the background in this gameplay. So the first thing is first, when we are talking about the Oden. The Oden is not exactly a really fast firing type of gun. It's got a slower fire rate, but it does have a two-shot to kill. You know, you get one in the body, one in the head. You basically have a two-shot kill. It's incredibly overpowered if you actually know how to use this gun, and you can take people out even before they have the chance to even pull their gun up on you. It's incredibly good. So let's actually jump into my first attachment here on my class setup so you guys exactly know what to use. So my first attachment is going to be the Colossal suppressor. So there's the tactical suppressor, there is the monolithic suppressor, there's a whole bunch of different variations, there's compensators, and I will say that basically every other sort of assault rifle or SMG, anything else like that, I'm going to be running the monolithic primarily because it helps your damage range. It doesn't have really many sort of downsides apart from what you normally would get with a silencer anyways. But on this gun in specific, the Colossal suppressor is actually the variation of what the monolithic would be. So instead of running the monolithic on this gun, I end up running the Colossal, and that gives me the sort of effect I'm looking for. So I would highly recommend putting on the Colossal suppressor just because it's really good. It helps out with your sound suppression, your damage range, and your recoil control. So I mean, those are all things that are really beneficial, especially when you're talking about the Oden, which sometimes has a little bit of a unique kick to it. The next thing I'm going to be running on my Oden is actually going to be the Commando foregrip. So the Commando foregrip is a really good attachment. I tend to run the Commando foregrip on a lot of my guns. I feel like sometimes the only time it really differs is if I sometimes decide to put on, let's say, the Merc or the Ranger foregrip, depending on the sort of gun. But because the Oden is naturally more of a slower sort of, it's not a real gun you can just rush, balls to the wall, running gun with. You have to kind of play a little bit more of a defensive play style. I would suggest putting on the Commando foregrip to help out with that recoil control, but not necessarily to slow yourself down so much to the point where it feels like, it takes forever to bring up your gun. That's never a really good thing, and so that is why I would recommend running the Commando. I don't really think there's any sort of benefit to run a different version of a foregrip on here. That's just my personal opinion. I love running the Commando. It seems to do the trick for me, and especially in, Modern Warfare multiplayer, you're not trying to, pick people off from way across the map, so you don't need any of these other foregrips that are going to help further with maybe sort of recoil control, but slow down your aim down sights. I mean, these maps are relatively medium to small size, so it's a little bit different than Warzone. Next up for me is, even though we are not in Warzone, I would highly recommend putting on an extended mag and making it the 30-round magazine, because 30-round magazine is as good as you can get with this gun. I always run extended clips basically on every single one of my class setups because, hey, I'm going to be running into a lot of people. I'm playing respawn game modes. I'm trying to drop a lot of kills. I'm trying to drop a nuke. So if I'm going to be doing that, I need to have as many bullets in my magazine as possible for when I come to those situations where there's, 1, 2, 3 people, even sometimes maybe there's a fourth person where, I just can't physically, get those kills without having that extended clip on my gun. I'd recommend to you guys having the extended clip on there just because I feel like it's incredibly beneficial, and I just absolutely love being able to, have the extended clip on there. It's one of my go-to attachments. Like I said, I run it on literally every single gun I possibly can. If you don't run an extended clip, then I don't really know what you're doing. I mean, it's kind of like the best thing to be able to run. Next up on my Oden is going to be the Stippled rear grip tape, and this is actually going to help with our mobility, not necessarily like, the mobility slot, or it kind of helps a little bit with the mobility slot, but you guys get what I'm saying. It's going to help with our aim down sight speed and our sprint to fire speed. Basically, because this gun is not exactly the fastest in the world at being able to, bring it up naturally, we need to kind of increase that, especially because we have on our Colossal suppressor, which definitely does slow down our aim down sight speed a little bit, so we kind of have to counterbalance it, just to more or less even it out. I mean, we want that range, we want that recoil control, and that sound suppression, but we also don't want to be super sluggish. And if you guys want to be able to run around with this gun and have the chance of, standing against basically anybody else, you need to have on your different sorts of, stippled grip tape on there, just so you can actually be able to do that. This is one of the best attachments I found. You could definitely run a version of the stock if you really want to, but that would actually take up a different attachment slot that we do need for something else, at least in my personal opinion. This next attachment is definitely going to be something that I've personally chose to go on there, and it actually was not a part of my Warzone class setup, which is actually a little bit interesting considering it could have been a little bit better in my Warzone class setup, but hey, you guys will see what I'm talking about next. So to round it all out, you should be running the stippled rear grip tape. It's going to help you have a bit more mobility to counteract your sort of, sluggishness with the Colossal suppressor and just more or less the gun in general. I would, recommend having this. Don't try to make your, gun have the most amount of range, most amount of recoil control. I mean, you're just going to end up with a real sluggish build. You gotta, give and take a little bit. That's always, the thing with all this sort of, attachments and being able to create all your stuff. There's always pros and cons to everything, so you got to pick and choose what you get. And for my final attachment number 5 on my Oden, I'm actually going to be running an optic, which is incredibly unusual for me, considering I'm always the guy that's going to be using the iron sights, because I'm like, man, I don't feel like an optic is really necessary on most guns. I really just think a lot of the iron sights are great, and realistically, the Oden is no different, but I found out the more and more I was playing with it in multiplayer, I was like, you know what, I could almost benefit a little bit from having, a clear sort of view in the optic. I just felt like it would have actually, benefited me. So as soon as I put on the optic, my next few games with it, I was just absolutely dominating everybody out there in the lobby. It was really, really good. So I'm running the GI mini reflex on my Oden. You guys can throw on a different sort of, sight. I'd only recommend running the GI mini reflex and like the other one that's really, really close to it. I think it's the Viper optic or something like that. Basically, you want to keep it as minimalistic as possible, because you're not going to be picking off people from, crazy long ranges in regular multiplayer. You don't need some sort of extended optic like that. You just need something to be able to make sure that your iron sights, or like the way where what you're aiming with, is going to be a little bit more clear than really what it was beforehand. That's just kind of, my 2 cents on everything. And I would say that, the optic really did help me out, especially within this gameplay. I was able to clearly see people. Those Oden iron sights did not get in my way at all. And you guys should notice that there was a pretty solid benefit to me actually having the GI mini reflex on this Oden class setup. So I mean, I would say, yeah, I would highly recommend running the GI or running some sort of red dot type of sight on there. Whatever you're most comfortable with. I tend to always love running the GI. It's my go-to red dot sight in this game. It's very simple. It's, it's super clear. There's no issues with it. So that is my go-to for my number 5 attachment on this Oden class setup. But to round out everything within the Oden class setup, I'll show it up on screen here once again, just so you guys get everything, encompassed. I have the Colossal suppressor, the Commando foregrip. I have the 30-round magazine. I have the stippled rear grip tape. And then, obviously, you guys just saw I have the GI mini reflex. That rounds out everything on my Oden class setup, so you guys can go ahead and dominate Modern Warfare multiplayer. If you guys want to go ahead and dominate Warzone, you can check out my Warzone loadout, as that does differ a decent bit, because, in Warzone, different sorts of, situations require to have a different sort of gun that's maybe a little bit more versatile and all different things. So, for me, this is my setup going into multiplayer. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, make sure you guys slap a like on it, subscribe with those notifications on, comment down below which gun you'd like to see me make a video on in the future. I greatly appreciate you guys letting me know what type of videos you are looking for, what is, really interesting to you. That is always really good and really helpful for me, so I know exactly what to be able to make to keep you guys coming back to the channel every single day for a brand new upload. With that being said, I'll see you guys later. Just around Triple Gap, don't be a Randy, and I'm out. Peace.